everyone. Welcome to ABC Interactive English. I'm Mike.
And I'm Karen.
And I hate bugs.
I hate bugs too.
Do you? We were talking about how a mosquito can keep you awake. And actually, mosquitoes are really common, right? We're from Canada, which is a cold place. But we have mosquitoes in Canada.
But
they can do just the same thing and keep you awake all night in Canada,
But we do get more mosquitoes in Taiwan, though, I have to say.
I don't know, do we?
Yeah, I think it's because it's more humid and it's hotter.
That's true, but remember, there's parts of Canada where the snow and ice will melt, and it creates lots of little puddles of water, and for a few weeks, it will be crazy with mosquitoes. Have you ever been to the city of Winnipeg in June?
No.
Oh, it's bad.
Really? Okay.
Real bad, yeah, absolutely. But I will say, all of the insects in Canada are smaller than the insects in Taiwan. Because here, here they have all year to grow. Because it never gets too cold, right?
You're right.
Yeah, there's some big. I was living in Taiwan. I found scorpions in my house.
You found scorpions?
I had a centipede on my neck at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's not a nice way to wake up.
Wait a second. Did you live all the way up in the mountains?
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably why.
Snakes, scorpions, and also a stick insect. You know that really skinny insect that you see on the Discovery Channel?
And they actually look like a stick.
It was in my living room.
No way!
It was so big I couldn't step on it. It was bigger than my foot, which was actually good for the stick insect because I just sort of pushed him out the door.
Okay.
It's like, bye, don't come back.
See you next time.
See you later. But are you okay with bugs?
Not really. Not when they're in my home. I'm okay with them in the nature. I'm not gonna bother them. But please don't bother me at home.
Yeah, absolutely. But you don't. It's hard to kill them though sometimes. So I try to just get them out the window.
That's right.
That seems to be the best way. All right, let's find out more about bugs with Beckett, Deborah, and their teacher, Mrs. B.
All right.
Beckett and Deborah are studying bugs in the wild.
Look, there's a cricket in the grass. Can you hear it singing?
That's a grasshopper. And the singing is from the cicadas in the trees.
How do you know all that?
I love bugs, so I'm always learning about them and can tell them apart.
All right, it's insect time with the Bugs Around Us Part B. Now, I'm sad to say Mrs. B, who is not an insect, is just a teacher with an interesting name. She will not be joining us today because Beckett and Deborah are actually out of school, but I think their class with Mrs. B yesterday really inspired them. They're kind of like junior scientists now because they want to learn more about bugs, right?
That's right.
Because now they know so much, they want to know even more. So as we begin the dialogue, it says Beckett and Deborah are studying bugs in the wild. Basically, that means they're outside there in nature, in the outdoors, looking for bugs.
That's right, and study is our first vocabulary word, and it's a verb. When you say you study something, that means you're learning about something. You're looking at something. So you can say, oh, I'm studying this interesting insect.
I'm studying.
Or I'm studying for my exam.
Right. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
right.
Scientists will study things, students will study things. If you want to learn more about something, well, a good way to do that is to study it. And yes, as we mentioned, the wild, here we're talking about the outdoors, okay? So they're not in school, they're not in the library, in a science lab, they're not at the zoo. We imagine them in a field, in a forest, somewhere like that, out in the wild where, you know, insects live. Anyway, so Beckett begins the dialogue by saying, look, there's a cricket in the grass. He's already spotted an insect, and I gotta say, he's got good eyes if he can see a little cricket in the grass, but actually it might be his ears that are helping him find it because he also says, can you hear it singing? So yeah, a cricket is a type of insect, and they might be, you know, holding on to a piece of grass or a plant, but also they make that sound, that very loud singing sound that they make by actually rubbing their legs together.
And Deborah goes on and says, that's a grasshopper. And the singing is from the cicadas in the trees.
Oh dear, Beckett.
Oh, so grasshopper, it's actually not a cricket. Grasshopper is actually actually our next vocabulary word. It's also another type of insect, and it's usually green, and they can hop when you're in the grass, right?
Exactly. Just like crickets and like locusts as well. There's a little difference. I think, I'm not sure, grasshoppers might be able to fly and crickets can't, or locusts can fly but grasshoppers can't. But they both have those big long back legs.
That's right.
And they're famous for jumping quite far and things like that. Yes, and if you're looking for insects of any kind, but especially something like a grasshopper, maybe look in the grass. Because what is grass? It's that green stuff that we see on the ground in a park, in a field, on a soccer field, on a baseball field, that kind of thing. It is a plant, but we don't call it a plant, we call it grass. It comes in all shapes and sizes, from the soft stuff you might sit on in a garden to bamboo, actually bamboo, and rice. Those are types of grasses too. So you can see they're a little different from plants and certainly very different from trees, but they all grow, they all use the sun and need water and that kind of thing. And then we also use this verb to sing. Yeah, we do actually say insects sing, but it's actually not the way we would sing, right?
Insects, I think when they sing, that means that you're making some
They're
kind of
making
loud
sounds,
sound
yeah.
or loud. Maybe it's some people enjoy it, but not. I don't really personally enjoy it.
Really not.
But when you walk into, the woods or something, sometimes you can hear the cicadas singing, right? Cicada is our next vocabulary word, and they're also a kind of insect.
Yeah.
And their characteristic is that loud sound that they make when you walk into the wild, into the nature.
Especially in the hottest months of the summer, you can hear that yee, and it can be really loud in some places. Cicadas are famous also for living a very long time. Some of them actually live underground for 16 or 17 years.
Really?
And only come out for one summer where they run around, have lots of babies, and then die.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's how they live.
That's how a certain type of them live, yeah.
Wow.
It's very, very interesting. And their loud singing during the summer can, of course, let you know that, well, they're around, and you will find them hiding up there in the trees. Anyway, so all of this information from Deborah is making Beckett quite surprised and also kind of wonder, like, what are you, the Wikipedia of insects, Deborah? He asks her, how do you know all that? In other words, where did you get all this information, all this knowledge about insects?
Well, I guess Deborah also has a passion for learning about insects, right? So that's probably why she knows so much. So Deborah goes on and says, I love bugs. So I'm always learning about them and can tell them apart.
She wants to marry bugs. She loves them. Of course she doesn't. But if you're passionate about something, if you really find it cool and interesting and you spend your free time doing it, of course we can say, I love ... It doesn't mean she's dating and kissing insects. No, that would be weird.
That's right. So you can also say, I love this movie.
Right, exactly. I love reading, I love playing computer games, and I love taking breaks.
Oh, and that is what we're going to do right now.
Let's do that.
That's really cool. Hey, now that's a dragonfly and not a moth or butterfly, right?
Right. You can tell by its long, thin body and see-through wings.
They fly in a different way too, right?
Yeah, they fly like little helicopters.
Welcome back, everybody. So now we're still talking about different types of insects, right? And
Right.
Beckett is talking to Deborah when they're out in the nature.
That's right. They just saw some grasshoppers, or actually maybe crickets.
Or maybe
right?
cicadas,
Or
right?
also maybe cicadas. They could hear the cicadas too. Anyway, so Beckett is getting lots of really cool information and knowledge from his friend Deborah. So the last thing he just learned about cicadas was really something he was interested in, and also he was happy to hear that Deborah really likes insects. That's how she knows so much about them. So Beckett says, that's really cool. It's really cool that you love insects and you know so much about them. And also it's really cool that you're teaching me and sharing this information with me. But then Beckett notices another beautiful insect nearby, and he says, hey, can probably imagine he's pointing at it or something. Hey, now that's a dragonfly and not a moth or butterfly, right? So he's kind of checking to make sure that his information or what he thinks is true.
Because he has been wrong.
He has been wrong a few times.
That's right. And Deborah says, right. You can tell by its long, thin body and see-through wings, right?
True. Moths and butterflies don't have see-through wings.
And they don't have a thin body either, right? So thin is our next vocabulary word. Thin is an adjective. You're describing something as something that's narrow, not very wide. So if someone is quite skinny, you can say, oh, that girl is quite thin.
That's right. It's not a big distance from one side to another. It's a very short distance from one side to another. And yes, if you think of a dragonfly, you definitely would be seeing its very long, thin body. It looks kind of like a short little pencil or something like that, which is also quite thin. And we also described the wings of the dragonfly as see-through. Anything see-through is something that basically light passes through, and you might be able to look through it. Now, we wouldn't usually describe glass or a window as see-through because it's always something that you can look through, right? But we might talk about something that in other cases might be something light doesn't go through, like the wings of a bird or the wings of a butterfly, and then other types of wings, like the wings of a bee or a mosquito or a dragonfly, light goes through them. It's almost like they're made of glass or plastic or something that light passes through. So that's why we would use the adjective see-through to talk about something that's different from other things that are like it, that are not see-through. Light does not pass through it in some kind of way.
And then the next vocabulary we have is wing. We all know if you have wings, then you can fly, right? So the butterfly has beautiful wings.
Sure. And an airplane has wings too.
You are right.
Right? Anything that kind of sticks out that gives it the ability to fly and control itself in the air, we would call those wings. All right, back to Beckett. Now we're talking about the wings and specifically the flying that dragonflies do. And he says they fly, meaning dragonflies, they fly in a different way too. Right? So here he's probably also still comparing the dragonflies to moths and butterflies, saying, yeah, these two types of insects, they fly in a different kind of way. Well, yeah, butterflies just have kind of big flappy wings, kind of like a bird, right? But not dragonflies.
Not dragonflies. So Deborah tells him that, yeah, they fly like little helicopters. Oh,
Very
that's
cool.
Interesting. Flying like helicopters. When I think of helicopters, I think of their propellers at the top, and then they can kind of lift off the ground with their propellers.
True.
Right?
I think here, though, he's talking more about how they fly. In other words, in what directions they can fly. Well, it's true. Dragonflies and probably hummingbirds are both very unusual because they can go up, they can go backwards, they can go side to side. They can hang in the air just like a helicopter can. Airplanes, birds, mosquitoes, bees, they can only really go forwards and up and down. They can stop. They can't go backwards or side to side. So yeah, in that way, even though it's kind of different, the way they move in the air is very similar, dragonflies are, to helicopters.
That is really interesting. I never really knew that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get myself a dragonfly that I can ride.
I don't think that's possible.
No, it's too small. Yeah,
Way too small.
But cheaper than a helicopter.
Maybe as a pet.
Possibly. But it's still very, very cool. And also a really wonderful thing that he noticed that's so special and unusual about dragonflies and many other insects. So we're going to continue our journey into the world of insects tomorrow with more from Beckett and Deborah. And we hope you guys can fly back and join us for that.
Enjoy.
Beckett and Deborah are studying bugs in the wild.
Look, there's a cricket in the grass. Can you hear it singing?
That's a grasshopper. And the singing is from the cicadas in the trees.
How do you know all that?
I love bugs, so I'm always learning about them and can tell them apart.
That's really cool. Hey, now that's a dragonfly and not a moth or butterfly, right?
Right. You can tell by its long, thin body and see-through wings.
They fly in a different way too, right?
Yeah, they fly like little helicopters.
大家好，我是 Stephanie。今天我们一起来看单字。第一个呢是 study 动词研究。Jane likes to study chimpanzees. Jane 喜欢研究黑猩猩。第二个呢是名词 grass 草地青草。It's your turn to cut the grass. 轮到你除草了。第三个呢是 sing 动词，昆虫或是鸟的鸣叫。Sing, sing, song 就是它的三态。Why do cicadas sing in the summer? 蝉为什么在夏天鸣叫？最后一个单字呢是形容词 thin 纤细的。List has thin fingers. List 的手指很细。最后我们要一起看文法重点。第一个呢是 in the wild 在野外。台湾近几年是不是很流行野外露营呢？这让我想到一个例子。I enjoy camping with friends in the wild. 我喜欢和朋友在野外露营。Wild 在这里是名词，荒野、野地的意思。那第二个重点呢是 A hears B 加 VING。A 听见 B 正在做某件事情。首先我们来复习一下 hear 的三态。Hear, heard, heard， 它是感官动词，听见、听到的意思。I heard my sister talking to her boyfriend on the phone. 我听到我姐姐在和男朋友讲电话。这个句子的感官动词 heard 后面接的是 talking 这个现在分词，表达听到的当下动作正在进行。那最后一个重点呢是 tell apart 分辨辨别。Can you tell the twin brothers apart? 你可以分辨这对双胞胎兄弟吗？ Tell 表示辨别，那 apart 呢作为副词的时候，它就是分开的的意思。以上就是今天的讲解 ，See you next time.
Hi, I'm Kim.
And I'm Jen.
We're going to play a game called Word Drop, where we each have cards with words on them from your lesson, and we need to work them into our conversation as casually as possible. So start us off.
Let's go. Okay. Oh, shoot.
Off to a great start.
Okay. Wait. Sorry. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Why are we talking about this again? So, yeah, all of us, well, most of us are very lucky that we get to go to school when we're younger, and eventually, as we grow older, we would be able to study whatever we want to and become whoever we want to when we grow up.
That's true, yeah.
Very lucky.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know, I like to do a lot of things. I like to act. I like to watch TV. I like to go outside. But there's always things that you're not good at, that you just will never be good at, no matter how much you study or try your best. And for me, one of those is I cannot sing.
You cannot sing?
I can't sing. It sounds like someone is, you know, being really mean to a cat, and the cat is really upset, and it's like, you know. I can't sing.
Too bad. Yeah. I don't think I can sing either. I mean, I'd like to think that I can sing, but no. Let's see. What else? So you can't sing, but you do like to study, and you like to watch TV. What else do I like to, speaking of things that we like to do, I like to, you know, just sometimes go for a walk outside. I do now, these days, I just go outside and walk along the park, and I'll go like take off my shoes and stand in the grass and let my toes feel like the nice grass.
Grass feels nice, sure. So one time I went to the park, and the grass was nice, I'm happy to say. And I went with my friend, and he walked off, and he went somewhere else to buy food or something. And after a while, I didn't know where he went, so I was like, oh no, where is he? So I went to go find him, and I tapped the wrong person on the shoulder because
Oh my gosh.
my friend and this person, you know, I couldn't tell them apart.
Whoa.
They were like the same person to me.
How embarrassing.
Pretty embarrassing.
I think that's happened to me before, you know. I remember one time I was at the zoo when I was little. I was in the zoo. Or I think at the time I felt like I was in the wild. Because you know how zoos are, it could look like you could be in the wild. And I actually went up to a guy who I thought was my dad, and I don't know if I can say this. I slapped him somewhere in the behind area, and then I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. You're not my dad.
What's funny is a lot of people have stories like that because
Yeah,
kids are
so
silly and
embarrassing.
they go up to the wrong adult. I did that as well when I was a child, except it was in a library and I didn't slap anybody, but you know, you do remember that kind of thing, and you just hope that their patience isn't too thin and that they don't get mad at you.
Oh, yeah.
That they're patient with you because you're just a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Just a kid.
See you next time.